Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Star Report, your go-to location for all Dallas Cowboys news. We've got a great show lined up for you. We're going to be getting into some free agent talk here. We're talking about Brandon Carr and who they might sign going forward. Then we're also going to round things out with a little bit of draft talk, getting to the targets that we think that they may be interested in and who they realistically might be targeting with the top 5 pick. All right, first I'm going to bring in my co-host, Blake. Blake, how's it going?
What's up?
Not much, man. All right, let's get into it. Kind of the hot news right now as far as what they might be doing is related with Brandon Carr and his situation. What do you think they're going to be doing with him going forward?
I mean, hadn't it? I guess it's not for certain, but isn't it pretty much known that they are going to cut him?
I mean, that's kind of what they're saying, and it looks like they're going to do it. Realistically, as far as like money goes, I think that would be a good thing for them to do because it'd save them like $6 million against the cap.
And I mean, that's my thing. I mean, I don't think that Brandon's been absolutely horrible, but for what they paid him, he's definitely been a disappointment. And so, I mean, I think if he ain't worth 10 or 11 million, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's getting any interceptions. I read a stat. I think he said he hasn't had an interception in almost 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, It was a pretty mind blowing. I was actually pretty shocked.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought. I mean, I know he hasn't gotten a bunch, but I would have thought he at least got one or two every season. But wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
My thing with it is I got no problem with them letting him go, but who are they going to bring in? I mean, you got to have, especially in today's NFL, you got to have corners. And I mean, Claiborne kind of had a rebound season. He wasn't spectacular, but he was really solid last year. And Skandrick, you know what Skandrick brings if he's healthy, but who's the number 3 corner?
I think who is their number 3 corner right now? It's some jabroni sitting on the bench that plays for the practice squad.
Right, and that's the issue. You can't have. I mean, realistically, you don't want to have some jabroni from the practice squad as your number 3 corner in today's NFL.
Exactly. So why don't we just go ahead and get into it? Like, who do you think that they might be signing going forward, or who should they sign?
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about the Brandon Carr front, please God, don't bring Pac-Man Jones back here. Please God, don't bring Pac-Man Jones back here because I mean, I know the guy kind of has had a rebound as far as the way he's playing in Cincinnati. I think he went to the Pro Bowl this year, or else he was at least in consideration for it. But he proved in the Cincinnati playoff game that he's still a complete jackass. We're getting rid of one jackass in Greg Hardy. We still got to hold on to another jackass in Randy Gregory. We don't need to add more jackasses here.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, that guy would be the worst pickup that they possibly could make. And plus, it kind of goes against Jason Garrett's whole philosophy as far as the right kind of guy. Even though last year they signed Greg Hardy and they drafted, Randy Gregory, that both had question marks with, character issues. But
yeah, but the Greg Hardy signing is a little different because if and obviously I think after everything he's been through, he's never going to be the player he was. But Greg Hardy was taking a chance on a guy that could have been a real game changer. Pac-Man Jones, I don't care if he went to the Pro Bowl this year or not. He's not going to take you from, he's not going to be a legitimate game changer. He would just come in here and be another corner in the mix and probably still be your 3rd corner here. I mean, that's not enough to take a risk on a jackass like that guy.
I think that, I think they'll be going along with their trend as far as youth movement goes. So I think one guy that they might be interested in, if the money's right, would be Janoris Jenkins from the LA Rams.
Yeah, but he's kind of a jackass too.
Yeah, he's kind of a jackass. But I mean, ever since he came into the NFL, he hasn't really done anything as far as as far as character concerns are gone. At least that I'm not aware of. I mean, I haven't really heard of anything as far as him being, a trouble in the locker room or anything like that. Not to the extent of like an Adam Jones,
Yeah, I mean, we covered corner. When I look at the rest of, this team doesn't really. I'll put it this way: if they're healthy, I don't think that they need anything on offense. Could they use better running back? Yes. Could they use maybe a better backup tight end? Yes. Could they use a better, another complimentary wide receiver? Yes. But if they're all healthy, this offense is plenty good. When I looked at people, what I looked at as far as targets, I mean, you got to look at defense. You got to look at pass rush. I mean, you took a flyer on Greg Hardy last year. why can't you take a flyer on Mario Williams this year to see if he can come in here and produce since he's got cut from Buffalo?
Yeah, he's kind of my number one target that I think they should go after in free agency. I think he would be pretty much the perfect fit in the 4-3 defense here, especially with Rod Marinelli, coaching that defense.
Right.
Um,
I mean, I agree 100%. And that was the first name on my list, too. Another guy that I have on my list is, and this is just something that's always been a pet peeve for me and with this team, freaking safety. I mean, Eric Weddle's a great safety that's on the free agent list. Now, I don't think they're going to spend the kind of money it would take to get him, but J.J. Wilcox or whatever, I think that's his name. He's okay. Barry Church is okay, but I'm so tired of having mediocre safety play with this team. Why can't we get a top flight safety in here ever?
no, and I agree. I think that they totally should, pursue that if they can. But like you said, I don't think they'll do it just because the money's obviously going to be, too expensive for a guy like that. And I don't think that they, value him to that extent because I think they think they're set with J.J. Wilcox, to be honest with you. And I know they like, Barry Church, due to the fact that they've pretty much relied on him for a couple years here and they've paid him pretty well for it. So
yeah, I don't mind Barry Church. I mean, he's not bad by any means. I just would. I mean, you see, I mean, the name, he's not in the NFL anymore, but the name that pops into my head, Ed Reed, or what like Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor can do in Seattle. I want to have a badass safety on this team for once. We haven't had one really since Darren Woodson, and I want one again.
no, I agree. And I think, again, kind of going back to why they wouldn't go that way is just because I also think they value Byron Jones at that spot. I think they think that Jones could potentially be their starting free safety going into the, opening day, start of next season.
Well, and that's, I mean, yeah, that might be who your third corner is if you don't sign somebody.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Byron Jones, actually, if you cut Brandon Carr, will probably become your second.
You probably start. I would think you would probably. I mean, not that Skandrick would be classified as a nickel corner, but when you run three out there, my guess is you would Jones and Claiborne would be on the edges, and Skandrick would be in the nickel, and that would kind of be the formation you would like to play with those three.
Yeah, that kind of brings us to the next question: who I think they will actually sign. And they actually have to. I think that they're going to go after Mo Claiborne as long as they can get him to a friendly deal.
Why couldn't you? I mean, the dude hadn't done a damn thing.
True. I mean, last season, was his probably his best season, which is kind of sad. But he, still had injury issues, and I guess you're right. I think that they can probably get him at a friendly deal, but I think a guy like that who does have the upside when healthy, may command a little bit too much. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out.
I don't see any way they get priced out of him. I mean, last year, like I said earlier, last year was his best year by far, and it wasn't like he was just beating the doors off of everybody. I mean, he was just above, maybe average to above average.
And, kind of brings me into the next one, like Rolando McClain. Like, I don't know that
See you
I
bye.
want them.
See you bye.
I don't want them to sign Rolando McClain, to be honest with you, just because I question his effort a lot.
That guy was a 1 year wonder. See you later.
And I agree. But, the reports that have come out are that they're going to try to re-sign him. Right now they're trying to re-sign him, apparently.
I would rather go get, I mean, like a guy like James Laurinaitis, who's had some injury issues but has been a high-level player, or like Derek Johnson, who you played at University of Texas and played for the Chiefs, who's a little older. Go get somebody like that to fill linebacker holes. Or hell, when we talk about the draft in a minute, my number one target's a linebacker. You don't need frickin' Rolando McClain. That guy was awful last year.
And then the last part, I think, like, position that they need to address would be backup quarterback. Matt Castle's a free agent. Do they really think that Kellen Moore can be that guy? Which I hope not. But
and what I don't know if you saw this, but they're saying they're interested in Nick Foles. I mean, if you can get him for cheap money, I'm up for that.
I saw the report on Reddit today. I don't think it's that realistic. I could be wrong, but I don't think that'd be a realistic. I think a guy that they should be looking at is a guy that actually used to play for the Cowboys, Matt Moore, quarterback for the Dolphins. He's 31 now, so he's getting a little old, but he's a solid backup and can be someone you rely on in the event that you know
Yeah, but
Tony.
let me ask you this. I mean, if Matt Moore comes into the game, do you realistically think you can win?
No, but I think that he can be at least a game manager to the point where that they do have a decent shot at winning. I mean, he can definitely. I think he can be a guy that can come in and at least put up some points. I don't think they're going to ask too much of him. I would think they would, let him loose a little bit more than they would Brandon Whedon or Matt Castle. And the good thing about, like I said, Matt Moore does have a little bit of a history with teams, so he actually knows the system decently.
Before we do draft, let me ask you this: what will Matt Forte command in the free agent market? Because I, for one, love that dude and would love to have him here.
I would love Matt Forte at the right price. I think that his market's going to be a little bit less than people think, just because honestly the running back pool this year is really strong with Doug Martin and
Yeah, Doug Martin's gonna be a
Lamar.
big deal.
Yeah, Lamar Miller from Miami. Lamar Miller's still only like 24, 25, something like that.
What did he come to the NFL when he was 17?
He hasn't been in the league that long. He's been in the league 4 years, I think, 3 or 4 years. Um, but I mean, he's probably, I guess he was 20. Yeah, he's probably 20 when he came in. But those two are going to get the big deals as far as running backs go. And plus, I don't see anybody paying Matt Forte big money when one, he's over 30, and two, he has injury problems. He can't
Well,
stay healthy.
and I agree with that, but I still think he's probably going to be too much for what the Cowboys are willing to pay, especially with the fact that obviously based on last year, and I mean not that McFadden didn't end up having a decent year, but we see what their thought process is hey, we can put anybody behind this line and we'll be just fine. So they're not going to pay big money. I don't think they're going to pay big money for running back in free agency.
Oh, I agree. And plus, I don't think they need to. Like, kind of like you said, as far as, um, they do have Darren McFadden. So I don't really think that
Yeah,
they're
but I mean, he just because he was healthy one year, the dude wasn't healthy for 6 years in a row. What's to say that he's not going to blow something out in game one?
true, true. I just mean from like a franchise standpoint, I don't think that they are necessarily going to go into free agency being like, all right, well, running backs number one need, let's go sign Matt Forte to $6 million a year or whatever. That's overkill, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But all right, let's go ahead and get into the drafts. What kind of targets do you like, and what are you looking at as far as needs?
I mean, I didn't. My targets weren't based on need. Mine are just the three guys that I like the most in the draft. And number one for me is Miles Jack, the linebacker out of UCLA. This dude is a freaking animal. 250 pounds, is athletic enough to possibly play freaking strong safety like a Cam Chancellor, but he won't. He'll play linebacker. And the idea of putting this dude on the same field right next to Sean Lee every game really, really excites me. Um, and I think, I mean, I've seen some stuff where I think he's on their radar at number four, possibly. And then my second dude is Jalen Ramsey, who I think is. I mean, I won't lie. I'm a little scared to take a corner high again after Mo Claiborne, but I think this guy is such a freak and such a special player that I think he plugs right in immediately as a starter here and as a starter just about on probably any team in the NFL. And then also, obviously, I mean, you're at four. You've got what most people think. You've got three potential franchise quarterbacks in the draft, and for me, by far the number one guy is Jared Goff. So I got Jared Goff listed at number three.
So like the targets I like is straight defense, defense. In my opinion, their number one need as of now before free agency, and everyone I think should at least acknowledge this would be defensive line. You're gonna miss. You don't have Randy Gregory for the first 4 weeks of the month or of the year, and then you have, Tank Johnson is your number one rush guy. That's it. That's all you've got. Nothing else. And then you have guys like Jack Crawford, and stuff like that who played decent, towards the end of the year, but you can't rely on a guy like that to be a starter for a month. Um, I think Joey Bosa has to be their number one target. I like Joey Bosa a lot. I keep reading reports all of a sudden, like basically for all of the NCAA football season, he was the number one ranked player, and then all the way leading up to the combine, he was ranked the number one player. And now after the combine, even though he had a good showing at the combine, all of a sudden there's reports coming out that he may not be the guy that they thought that he was,
Yeah,
which
didn't he run slow though?
apparently, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that was his issue. I mean, I saw a picture of, and I'm not saying he's J.J. Watt or anything like that, nor do I think he will be the level of J.J. Watt.
Yeah, he ain't JJ
But
Watt.
no, and I agree. But I mean, his measurables, like his weight, his 40 times, his everything like that was almost identical to J.J. Watt. So if a guy can go out and perform like that at the combine to one of the best defensive players, probably actually the best defensive player in the NFL, I don't understand how you can like all of a sudden be like, well, I guess he's not that great, and we have a hard time seeing him go in the top 10. So Joey Bosa would be my number one target, if they stay at 4. Jalen Ramsey would be the next guy for sure, because I think, adding a guy like that to an already, even if you release Carr, you have last year you took Byron Jones, and then you have, Scandrick, Byron Jones, and Jalen Ramsey. That would be an insanely strong um, stable of corners, which,
Well, for me, if you draft Jalen Ramsey, Byron Jones is officially a free safety going forward.
true, but I still think at times he, like you said before, he would come in like nickel dime packages or whatever, play that third corner slot, because you have, not that I think J.J. Wilcox is the greatest, but you have that,
Well,
freedom.
and I see that. I mean, Woodson used to do that. Woodson used to come up and cover people one on one in the in nickel and dime. It's because he was such a good cover safety. So I mean, that's very possible.
Exactly. And they also say that Jalen Ramsey has that kind of flexibility that Byron Jones does. They also see him possibly playing at safety, you know,
That's because he's a big corner like Byron Jones.
exactly. And he has the range and all that stuff, the good attributes to do that. So I think that's good that it's flexibility that teams covet that I think is most attracting for him. And then the other guy would be DeForest Buckner. Again, kind of with the pass rush thing. If
I'm not a big fan of that guy. I don't have a whole lot of you know sound stuff to back it up. Just something about that dude kind of rubs me the wrong way. I just don't buy. Maybe it's because he's from Oregon. I don't really buy into Oregon being a big school that produces high caliber, like top flight NFL talent.
Sure, and like I can see that argument, but as far as his attributes and his physical ability, that's what's really attracting people to him. And again, kind of like Ramsey, he has that flexibility to play multiple positions. He could play defensive end, he could switch inside and play some defensive tackle. So he has that flexibility to kind of move around the line at will, and he has that size and length to do that. So that's where I think that people will covet him, as far as the fact that he can play multiple positions on the line. And I think that would be good for us due to the fact that we're limited as far as pass rushers that we already have, unless they go out and sign guys like Mario Williams or Nick Fairley or whatever to help, cure that problem.
Right.
Which I think that they will sign some people, but I don't expect Mario Williams and stuff like that. So adding a guy like Buckner or Boza would just make that line even better. So next thing is, I keep hearing all this talk about Jerry came out and talked about how quarterback is not going to happen at 4. I think it's baloney. I think if the right guy's there, I think that would be nuts not to take. And especially if your scouting department is saying that this guy is, can be your franchise quarterback, then by all means, I think that they should take him, whether that be Goff or Wentz.
Isn't going to be there. Cleveland's taking Wentz.
Well, I think so too. One of them's definitely gonna be gone. Well, that's what I'm saying. If you have the choice between the two, because I think a lot of people out there are kind of grading them at the same kind of level. They're like 1A, 1B as far as quality. I think people think that Wentz is probably a little bit better as far as his potential, but I think a lot of people also think that Goff can be just as good.
Well, and that's kind of the way I look at him. To me, Wentz has He's got way, way higher of a ceiling, but I think Goff can be just as good, and I think Goff's more ready now to play than Wentz is to play at this level.
True.
I'm torn on this whole QB thing. I mean, me as a fan says we've seen freaking Brandon Weeden, Brad, all the just absolutely god awful backup quarterbacks that have been in this town for years.
Sure.
And we've also seen before Romo got here what happens when you don't find a young quarterback. I mean, we went through Chutch, Quincy Carter, all those rejects for so many years. So to me, that says you're four. There are potential franchise quarterbacks in the draft. You have to take one. Then I look on the other side and I say, you've got Tony Romo. I don't give a damn what Jerry Jones says. He ain't playing 4 or 5 more years at the top level. You got 2 or 3. I will say you have, if he's healthy, you have 3 years at the level he played at in 2014 of Tony Romo. And then he's going to start to go downhill. So you have a 3-year window realistically to win a Super Bowl with the team you have presently constituted if they all stay healthy. Thinking that way, I think you got to go defense, something that can make a major impact right away because you don't need offensive line. That's the other major impact players you could get at 4. There's good wide receivers, but not at that level where you're at. And there's good running backs, but not at that level where you're at. Where the level you're at, you have your choice of top flight defensive players. So I hate saying this because it scares me to death that we're not going to draft another quarterback, and then in Game 6, Romo's going to go down, and we're going to be watching Kellen Moore play again. But I don't think you can do it. I think you have to go defense because this team, if they're healthy and you get a good string of health again, this team can win next year and the year after and the year after that. So I think you have to go somebody that can help you win now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you kind of touched on it about the whole running back situation. Do you think, because I keep seeing the reports, multiple beat writers and multiple NFL.com writers have said that they think that Cowboys are going to take Ezekiel Elliott at the pick 4. I think that would be crazy. I love Ezekiel Elliott and the possibility of him playing behind that line, but that's just a guy that at 4, if they were to stay there and not trade, I think that would be stupid just because.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and there's going to be a top defensive talent there that is way more of a need than than a running back that can be whoever. Todd Gurley.
Here's the only way I say you draft Ezekiel Elliott, which is you go sign a Mario Williams, you go sign a Nick Fairley, or I think Tamba Hawley at Kansas City is free. You go sign a couple of pass rushers that if healthy, can legitimately get to the quarterback in free agency, then you don't draft him at 4 ever. If you get your pass rushers in free agency, you trade down to, most people have him in the, I think, 15 to 20 range. You trade down to about 13, pick up a couple of more picks, and draft him somewhere there. And I'm perfectly fine with it there, but absolutely not at number 4.
No, I totally agree with that. So what about the guys? What do you think their top 5 targets are going to be if they were to stay at 4?
Well, I mean, I think obviously just because they're realistically top 5 targets in the draft, Wentz and Goff, 2 quarterbacks. Bosa, even though I got to admit, I'm not a big Bosa guy. I'm just not. There's something about that dude that kind of rubs me the wrong way. Miles Jack is a guy that I'm all over, and then obviously Ramsey.
Yeah, and we've kind of touched on it, as far as who we value, but I think realistically, they can't really go wrong. This is kind of one of those years in this spot, so you can't really go wrong as far as who they pick and what position they pick, just because any of these guys that they take here is probably going to be a day 1 starter outside of a quarterback or, a tight end, but tight end's obviously not in play there, or I would hope it's not in play there.
Looking at the draft, I think it's pretty widely known that Tennessee is going to pick a lineman number 1 because they've got Marcus Mariota, sure. And there are no skill positions worth picking at 1, sure. Or even or close to it. So And then most people say that Cleveland is going to pick a quarterback. So most people say Wentz, but without a doubt, Wentz or Goff is off the board, most likely at 2.
Sure.
And then I think Jacksonville has 3, if I'm not mistaken. I think
I don't remember. No, it's San Diego. San Diego.
San Diego has San Diego's a wild card though to me because Philip Rivers is old. They're moving to they may be moving to LA, so San Diego could go quarterback too possibly. But I looked at a mock draft today. And they predicted San Diego to go offensive tackle. So I mean, if it falls like that, if it goes tackle, quarterback, tackle, the Cowboys have the opportunity to take whatever the number 1 defensive player is on their board at 4.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reality is they're either going to be because basically everyone says that the only person that is considered for even possibility to go in the top 3 as far as defense goes is Jalen Ramsey, where people have had him going number 1 overall, which I think is crazy, and they've also had him going to San Diego at 3. So, like you said, yeah, it's going to be they're set up perfectly almost for them to take arguably the best defender in the draft. And
I'm not sure. I mean, for me,
I think for Ramsey to go number 1 overall would be absolutely asinine. I really do. Like, it may be the best corner in the draft, but I think that would be crazy.
Miles Jack might be my favorite, but I'm not sure that if Jalen Ramsey is there at 4, I'm not sure that I could pass that up. Oh, even over Bosa and Jack.
Especially after his, combine performance, he absolutely just tore it up.
Right.
So he's too good of a target. I mean, people from what I keep reading as far as reports, if Jalen Ramsey and Bosa are there, that's gonna be one of your guys. Like one of them is gonna be a Cowboy.
And even though I'm not a big Bosa guy, I'm not going to complain or bitch if they draft Joey Bosa. I'm just not oh my God, that's who I want on this team.
Exactly.
The guy's got a hell of an upside. He's a good, he shows a lot of talent. I don't know about your J.J. Watt comparison crap, but the guy is most likely going to be pretty good. And obviously, it's been a need for years and years and years and years and years here. Exactly. And that's the deal with a guy like Bosa. If you have Bosa that can get you 15 sacks a year, you don't have to draft Jalen Ramsey because guys like Claiborne and Skandrick and Jones and the jabroni off the practice squad that we talked about earlier are a lot better if they're not having to cover for 4, 5, 6 seconds.
Exactly.
Bottom line is, if Bosa, Ramsey, Jack are on the board, I don't think as much as it pains me to say this, I don't think you can take QB.
No, I totally agree. I think, yeah, you have to go defense.
Which absolutely sucks as a Cowboy fan because you know just how bad it sucks when you don't have a franchise quarterback, and you know that this one that wears number 9 here is, regardless of what our crazy-ass owner is, which before we get out of here, I got to ask you a question about him.
Okay.
He ain't playing 5 more years. He'd be like 42 or some shit. He ain't playing 5 more years. He's got 2 at a high level, maybe 3, and then you are realistically looking at possibly another run of Chutch or Drew Henson or
Vinny
Testaverde or Drew Bledsoe or Quincy Carter or what was the kid from Stephen McGee? You're looking at another run of all those jack-offs. So it sucks so bad that you are in the position to take a franchise quarterback and you just probably can't.
Yeah, I don't think they can do it just because unless they trade. Like the only way I can see it is if they trade back, and then he becomes like Goff or whoever's left becomes a target. Same thing with Elliott. I think if they trade back, Elliott's a good trade back target.
Yeah, but I don't. I'm not like.
But yeah.
I'm not a fan of trading back. Our owner trades back too much. I'm not a fan of trading back. You're at 4. To me, I follow the old school draft method. You're at 4. You're at a premium pick. You take the best player on your freaking board. If that's a damn offensive tackle, you take an offensive tackle. You take the best player available.
No, I agree. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no way this is ever going to happen. But like you said, if Tunzel is there, I would take Tunzel. Why not?
Yeah, because number one pick at right tackle to go with, then you have 5 number one picks on your offensive line.
That would be incredible.
And you really legitimately, probably by the end of next season, have the number one offensive line, maybe in the history of football.
And the reason you do that, and like if that did happen, let's say Romo goes down, and the season is scrubbed. That's when you take a quarterback. That's when you have to take a quarterback.
Right.
It's so crazy. But all right, that's going to go ahead and wrap things up for us. It's been a good show. Appreciate it, Blake.
No problem.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.